I'm going to call to order the Raymore Park Board meeting for September 22nd, 2015. Jerry, can we have a roll call?
Member Castleman?
Present.
Member Sepola? Present. Member Eastwood?
Here.
Member Harris?
Present.
Member Howdyshow?
Present.
Member Manson?
Present.
Member Seamers?
Present.
Mr. Haddock and Mr. Heath are absent. The director and other staff are present.
All right, thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Personal appearances. Apparently we have none. So that means we'll proceed to the acceptance of the minutes from the August 25th, 2015 meeting.
I move we accept the minutes from the August 25th, 2015 meeting.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your right hand. Thank you, Brian. All right, minutes accepted. We'll go on to committee reports. Now, since we have not had a meeting for those, our director is going to give us some, we have meetings in the future scheduled, and he's going to give us the dates and times.
Yeah, thank you, sir. In the back of the packet, I provided basically a calendar of the upcoming meetings. That includes our regular business meetings and the quarterly committee meetings. What I did was basically just put them on a schedule, put the dates down so that we always have them booked. The chair of that committee is also listed, and the members of those committees are listed there, so you guys have that as a reference. And so until we meet, what we'll do is just leave the upcoming date, and then after we meet that following park board meeting, we will have a report from that and just keep that going. What this does is, as you see, it puts it on the second Tuesday of the month in place of an additional work session or an emergency meeting should we need one that you guys discussed in August. So it keeps that date reserved, and then we just utilize that day and keep our meetings on a quarterly basis. So just a little information there in the calendar that's provided in the miscellaneous section of the packet.
All right, any questions? We all have an idea when each of the committees will be meeting. The chair is responsible for notification of committee members that are listed with you, and any additional board members that want to attend these meetings can. In fact, I encourage you to do.
I will say that we do need to publicize these like we do all our other meetings. So if it's confirmed and the chair does in fact want to meet, you need to let us know so that we can post that on our website and make sure that that's announced.
So the committee chair needs to confirm the dates and the meeting times.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll have staff reports. First is our recreation superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman. I submitted a written report in the packet. I'll highlight a couple of items on there. It has been a busy couple of weeks here as we've geared up fully into the fall sports. Operation-wise, administration-wise, actually, staff has helped with placing players on teams and putting together the uniform orders. We got all those in. Of course, games have all started. Last night was the first night for baseball and softball, so that was the starting night for the last fall sports activity game-wise. So those will be going on through October. So we have the final schedule is done the second to the last week of October, so hopefully everything will be done well before Halloween. and bad weather hits. Farmers market's wrapping up. We have a couple weeks left of that. And so we want to just make sure that we highlight that. October 13th being the final one. There's still activities going on out there, and there's still good attendance. As I'm sure Director Mustine will discuss, attended some meetings and trainings, one of them being National Conference last week. The Recreation Coordinator, she has been attending Boy Scout and Girl Scout troop meetings as well as Lion Club, trying to gain partnerships and recruit volunteers for our Harvest Night coming up in October. And that leads us into the special events. We had Fall Movie Night. We had a really good turnout, more than what we kind of expected, but we had great weather. And so we had some feedback on Facebook, and a lot of people liked the Goonies movie that we watched. It was by poll. The first time we've done a polling on Facebook, and so it was voted on by the public. So it went well. And then, of course, our Harvest Night is October 24th, so plans are underway for getting everything prepared for that. At this time, I'll entertain any questions.
No questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Our Park Superintendent staff report.
Thank you. I also submitted a written report, but just wanted to hit on a few key items. On September 12th, Saturday morning, there was a memorial dedication for Rick Lincoln and the Rain Garden down off south of Lucy Webb. There was great turnout. There was at least 25, 30 people there. Nice little short dedication, but very well taken. It was very nice. There is a sign down there. It's got Rick Lincoln on it. Tells a little bit about what he did. This was all a partnership between the city, South Grand Watershed Alliance, and the Missouri Department of Conservation. So, if you haven't seen the sign and been out and take a look at the rain garden, you might take time to go down and take a look at that sign. It's very nice. Park staff has we received the new soccer goals in, and they've been put together and are dropped off up at Hawk Ridge Park. There's now 4 practice fields, half practice fields up there that can be utilized all days of the week. So if anybody needs a place to practice, it's a pretty nice place to practice. There's a porta potty up there. It's mowed just like all the other ones, so not very crowded. Just wanted to let you all know that staff has met with the contractor that was the lowest best bidder for the Hawk Ridge Park Trail. Just kind of let them know what's going on while we're waiting on the grant, just to find out if we got that or not. They are totally understandable about it, so hopefully we get this, we'll find out about the grant and get moving on this here fairly quickly. And then the last thing, I just wanted to remind everybody that the Fall Festival up at Memorial Park is going on this weekend. It starts Thursday night and goes through Saturday night. Looking forward to a good turnout with the nice weather, so hopefully everything comes out good. And I'll entertain any questions.
Any question? Jenny?
I don't have a question, I have a comment for you. I was at Lowe's a few weeks back, and a gentleman that lives out there in the Hawk Ridge area was very complimentary to your crew and the work that we're all doing out there and with the plans. In fact, he would like to see it moved up a little. But he was very complimentary.
Thank you. I'll pass that on.
Anyone else? Steve, did we have, in the past, we've had a booth there. I don't believe we're entertaining.
I don't think that we were doing a booth. I think, excuse me, for about the last, well, a couple months ago, I think staff thought that the festival was going on the week that we were out of town. We thought it was last week, and that was our miscommunication on the date thing. And no, we do not have an informational tent going in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No questions? All right, then our Parks and Recreation Director's report.
Thanks, sir. First of all, we're coming up to, on the end of our fiscal year, so the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking at the budget pretty close, seeing what we've got left to spend, where areas where we feel like we can save some money and drop into the general fund, and just take a close look at how we've done over the past year, and be pretty beneficial to myself coming in on the last half of this year, so I can see where we're ending and really get a heads up and a good start for the upcoming fiscal year. Let's see, Steve talked about the Hawk Ridge Park Trail. I wanted to highlight the tennis and basketball projects coming up. We put up our signs, our Reimagine Raymore, with our own logo on there. It is scheduled to begin work a week from Monday. That is when the tennis season stops, and the last tennis game is September 28th, I believe. And so they are ordering everything, getting ready, so the following day they're ready to mobilize and get moving on that. They feel like they've got plenty of time and can do a good project for us. So everything's exciting, and everybody's excited and ready to go for that. Happy to say the first of our 2 vehicles we purchased arrived this week, so the F-150 is in. So we're really actually just excited to have something to drive. So I thought about driving it tonight so you guys can see it, but now you need to make an appointment and I'll come and give you a tour. And we can drive around in it. So let's see. Wanted to say thank you to the board for the opportunity to attend director school for me and John, and for the National Parks and Rec Conference last week in Vegas for the staffs. Good time, very good educational sessions, had a lot of fun, made a lot of contacts, a lot of networking, brought back a lot of good information. So we don't take that training lightly. We appreciate the fact that you guys allow us to do that. So thank you. One thing that I know Mr. Harris has talked about is the Kansas City Metro Area Parks and Rec Directors Group. That's a load to say. Every other year they do a banquet at the Liberty Memorial, and I got the notice this week. So I will send out an email to you guys with kind of the details, get an idea of who wants to attend. It is an RSVP. You can go by yourself, or we can go as a group. There is a cost associated with that. I believe the keynote speaker is the curator of the museum inside this year, and they'll have a banquet and all that. It's a nice event, so I'll send out some information on that to see if everybody wants to go. But just for your information, it's Friday, November 20th is the date that is set at 5:30 p.m. And it's a dinner and a whole program and everything. But I have the invite, so if you want to look at it tonight, otherwise I'll scan that in and email it to everybody. And finally, as far as my report goes, last night the city council met in work session, talked about a couple of items that pertain to us. One specifically, Councilmember Holman brought up the idea of adding city council funding shade structures around the baseball complex. As some of their excess funds, they have the opportunity to list projects that they want to see happen. He brought that up, so over the next few weeks, city council will be discussing the idea of doing that. They've laid on me some homework to bring to them as far as types of shade structures, warranties, durability, bang for your buck, things like that. I don't know. I didn't really get a sense of how the council felt, if it was something that is going to be supported or not. Some liked it, some didn't, some had more questions. I think I'll know more after we come back, but just wanted you guys to be aware that that is on the table as far as council funding some shade structures. And when we brought it to them, it was for all 6 fields at Recreation Park, not just the 4 complex, but the 2 little fields as well. Second item that they talked about last night, they looked at the names that you guys submitted for the park over off Washington Street, and it looks as, after quite a bit of discussion, at the next council meeting they'll bring a resolution forward naming the park, the future park, as Hannah Station. So that is what they're looking at doing. Hannah Station. So that's all the report from City Council as far as that's concerned, and unless you have any other questions for me, that is my report for the month.
Anyone with any questions? All right. Thank you. All right, on to old business. We have an action item on the agenda. It's for cost sharing on the streetlight brackets that was proposed to us by the Arts Committee, or Commission, pardon me. Go ahead.
Thank you. Although I wasn't here at the August meeting when Ms. Howe came in and presented you guys with a proposal from the Arts Commission, you all were there, you saw the report. She submitted a proposal that's inserted in your packet. There are some options there, so I've laid those out for you as far as what the Arts Commission was requesting. I can answer any questions you have about that, but what we need as far as action item from the board tonight to give to the Arts Commission is a vote on whether you want to participate in the cost-sharing program for the bracket and the hardware for the banners.
We don't have at this moment, we don't have an exact cost on the items, right?
No, we do.
We do, okay.
Yes, in the staff report under financial impact, there are 3 options that you guys can discuss and talk about. I'm not sure of what the final discussion was in August. The feeling of the board was what I got. What I understood was that it was favorable in partnering with the Arts Commission, but as far as what option, that's to be determined for this evening.
All right, is there any, we need some discussion on this. Is there any, no comments? Well, to give you an idea, if we got 3 options, we need to decide which option we want to vote on. So you have, as presented by the director, we have those 3 options. We needed to, first off, I'm already assuming that we're all going to participate in it. The level of participation depends on what we want to choose for the option. So it's whether we carry the load on the brackets entirely, or we go for a shared cost 50% investment. And I believe the brackets in question, okay, Brian? No, that's all right. I was just touching base on that.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to move forward with half of the cost of this project for $1,540 to do half participation by the park board.
And I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? Any reservations? All right. All right, we have a motion before the board, second it, for half the cost of the brackets. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. There we have it. It's, we're in for 50%. All right. Next thing on the agenda is, all right, next thing on the agenda is, new business. We have a presentation item. Is that what I'm seeing here? Yeah, the Raymore Legacy Program.
Yes, sir. I brought this forward. It's something I've been working on that I felt like was time. It was finished enough that it was time for you guys to see it, so that we can, if there's any changes that you guys want to make, anything that you want to add to, take away from, now's the time. What I want to say before I jump into this is we have, and I'll bring this up towards the end of the meeting as well, but the first work session, council work session in October, and the date escapes me, it's either the 3rd or the 4th or 5th or something like that, will be a joint work session, our quarterly joint work session, so we'll be sending out information on that. City Manager Fairborn asked me to bring these 2 items to you folks tonight so we can discuss that, and then again bring them up within the joint work session so we can talk about them with council and move forward with this. So what you're seeing, first of all, under new business, A is the Raymore Legacy Program. Essentially, this is kind of like a memorial tree program, a memorial bench program. What I did was I combined those ideas into a tiered system and just called it the Raymore Legacy Program. At the Future Park off Washington Street around the memorial flagpole, there's an area there that we've left basically mulch, but what we want to do is backfill that in with some honor bricks, and that would be the area we would do. Once that's complete and full, we could take sections of sidewalks out, and we could really move forward with that over the course of the year. into the future. So that is really an affordable opportunity for people to memorialize loved ones, veterans, anything like that. The next tier is the tribute trees, and I know Steve and I have been talking about this long before I left in 2012 as a memorial tree program. So the tribute trees would be something that a little bit more expensive. It's long-term investment, something that the guys will have to maintain. But as you can see in the program, I've laid all that out. We're already maintaining trees. We're already watering trees. This is an opportunity for the community to get involved in that program. The next step would be memorial benches. I brought this out, and it's just the next step up. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a permanent feature we can put along our trails in activity areas. I kind of put a teaser out in the program guide as far as things like this, and I've already had a family contact me that would like to do that at the disc golf course. So on hole number 1 right off the bat. So I think it's something, just from that feedback alone, sounds like people would be interested in doing that. But there's also the caveat that I haven't announced any prices yet either, so that might change. The prices that you see in here are things that we have gone through and looked at. We know with that price we can maintain it, we can guarantee it, and there's no additional expense other than our time and labor to install these things. What I wanted to do on the final tier is to kind of go all out, give an opportunity for a family to really leave a lasting legacy, do something big if they feel the need to. And that was more like a smaller picnic shelter, where we would go hand in hand with them and kind of walk them down that process, picking a location, things like that, and really leave a legacy within the city. And so within, I call it a presentation, but within your packet, I've laid all of those things out, and we've gone through the pricing and done as much as we can outside of, now it's just time to fine tune it, market it, and really get it out there. And I wanted you guys to see that, so that if there's anything you would like to see changed, we can tweak that before the work session comes up in a couple weeks. So at this point, I'm here to just kind of shoot from the hip and answer any questions you have.
Brian?
Thank you, sir. So I got a couple of questions. Or one thing that really stuck out to me was the tribute tree was only guaranteed for 1 year after planting. But, I mean, all this stuff is susceptible to vandalism and destruction and whatever. So should we put a time limit on all of these? I mean, let's say a bench, right? We're saying $2,000 for a bench. We're guaranteeing that for life, forever and ever. What if somebody comes up and destroys it? Are we out whatever it costs to put a new bench in, or are we going to say, you know what, we'll take care of a bench for 3 years. After 3 years and somebody destroys it, then whatever the budget fits. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm against doing that, but the tree, if you start looking at bricks, of course, maybe that, I guess we can price it to what we want to see more of, because the bricks at $80 seem to be a bargain compared to a tree for $300 that may only last 1 year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would think it would last forever, and you would hope so, but disease, bugs, whatever happens,
Right.
could happen. And I'd hate to spend $300 to have a tree be done after one summer, basically.
One of the concepts behind the tree, as far as the pricing, is for that price you get a larger size tree instead of a smaller little gallon size tree that you might get at Lowe's or something. This is more of a 2 to 3 caliber. It's a big dog. It takes 2 or 3 to
I don't know
plant
what
it.
that buys. I mean, if it buys a
It's
10-foot
stem-
tree,
It's a stem that big.
Oh,
as
okay.
opposed to that big. You know,
okay.
you're
So
getting a
it's
solid-
pretty hardy when it comes in. Okay.
Yes, and you typically get a warranty from the nursery for right at a year.
Okay.
So that is one of the reasons why I put a 1-year guarantee,
Okay.
because the nursery gives us that anyway, so we're not out anything
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
But I can research that and look at that a little bit and see if there's other programs that do a warranty as far as vandalism and stuff. I'm assuming when I drafted this, once it's paid for, once it's installed, it just kind of folds into the park system,
It's
and we
just our
would
stuff.
maintain and
Okay.
take care of it just like anything.
Yeah.
What the tree is, though, after 1 year, there's a lot of trees that we plant and they die. And sometimes they die because of location. Sometimes they die because they're vandalized. You know, with a living organism like that, you can't really guarantee it as much. That's
Right.
why that has the
Okay.
guarantee.
That makes sense to me.
Okay, so, one, I love the idea. I think this is great. But hitting on Brian's, if we get a 1-year guarantee from then really are we getting 2 years out of that? I mean, isn't that, if we know they're automatically gonna replace it in the first year,
We know that.
well, now everybody knows that.
If they watch this movie or they watch the video of this, yeah, they'll.
We're
they'll
not
understand
guaranteeing
that.
an
We're not
extra
guaran-
year.
That's the thing. We're not guaranteeing the tree will live. The company, the nursery we purchase it from is guaranteeing that. So all we're doing is extending that guarantee, because essentially, they bought it just through us. So it would be no different than you going to Rose Hill Gardens, buying a tree for getting a 1-year guarantee, or you pay me to go buy a tree at Rose Hill Garden and I get a 1-year guarantee. It's still a 1-year guarantee from the nursery.
Okay, what about like plaques and stuff like that? If they get vandalized, I mean, do they get the opportunity to purchase at a discount rate just a
Right.
plaque or
No,
what?
okay, so the plaques, as far as, obviously, the honor bricks are engraved. So the most that you could vandalize those is painting and stuff, as you know, and we can power wash them. There's a lot of ways to get paint and stuff off of there. The trees, we won't label the trees in the park. They will get a certificate of where that's located, and within City Hall or the Parks Office, there's a plaque on the wall with like little leaves that signifies they did that. The only people that will know where those trees are the people who donated those. Now, what we hope to do, and what I'll work with our GIS agent, is that we will link those in with the satellite, so you can pop up a map and see where they're at, see who donated it, see what type of species it is, where it's located. So you could do it all through the internet and online. But I don't think we want to get in the business of putting these little plaques down on trees where they get kicked every time some kid walks by and we're out $20 every time. We don't want to mess with that, and we don't want those folks who donate that to have to deal with that either. So it's all kind of behind the scene
On the benches,
recognition.
I assume?
On the benches, those are inlaid and engraved. I mean, you really got to do some work to get it
Okay.
out of there. So
What about the shelters? Are they,
it's just like any other shelter we do. When it's
Okay.
vandalized, we fixed it. We
but
fixed it.
there's no plaque or anything on that, or is it
The
gonna be
shelter
called,
will
like-
have probably like I don't want to say like a bronze thing, but it will, what I had in mind was that within reason, the shelter name itself would be the signifying factor of the people who donated it. So, you know, it would, we would work with that on a case-by-case basis.
Sheldon, you had one?
I had a housekeeping question, Nathan. The Honor Brick program tend to take off. Do you know the dimensions of the area that we would initially commit to, because we need some room for some overrun?
The square area around the memorial flagpole is a 15 by 15
Okay.
spot. It's a pretty significant, it's gonna take a lot of bricks to cover that. The idea behind that is once it's full, then we would pick a significant area of trail or sidewalk somewhere, and we would start cutting concrete and backfilling that in as we go.
In the same area?
In the same, we can, at that point, you can really go anywhere. You could
Okay.
do Memorial Park, you could do any of our trail. We would need to, as a group, figure out where we want to go and commit to that area. That's all stuff that we can take care of down the
Okay.
road. I think it's going to be several years before the honor bricks get full. I'm surprised in that it's much sooner than that, but
Okay.
No, Eric?
Mine was also on, my question was also on honor bricks. Is there a minimum number that you would try to shoot for to try to do that? I mean, if you only had one in a particular year, would you go for that, or would you have some sort of 10 or 20 or some set number that you would want to do before you would actually undertake that?
I think the first year, so let's just say we had 2 picked.
Yeah.
We would probably pick like a 15 brick layout and
Mhm.
just put blank ones down and then put the 2 engraved so that other folks can maybe see there's blank and lay it out there. But that way it shows that there's room to grow, because it's difficult to backfill in for 1 brick. But if you take that square and then you backfill in 2 or 3 rows of that, it makes more sense, it's easier to do that. So I'm not opposed to them being blank bricks per se, but I definitely, if somebody wants to pay and wants to do that, we're gonna honor it just because that's the commitment we made to do the program.
Well, but I think some cases you may want to have, you know, if you have a certain target that you want to do,
Mhm.
maybe you start to get the word out a little bit more, you know, if you know, advertise a little bit more, start beating the bushes a little bit.
Well,
for
and I'd
people that
also
may be
tell you, I'd
interested.
target you guys, and I target city council. And those that are elected and appointed should be the example, so, yeah, get ready.
All right, Jenny?
I was just gonna say, that's how they do it at the World War I Museum, is they have the blank ones there, and
Yeah.
so, just
Right.
was letting them know. It's how they do it down there, and people walk all over the bricks, and when they get a name, they just take a brick out and put a brick in, that's engraved.
That was
The-
kind of my question was, so you do have to take it out and put it in, there's no way to engrave it in
No,
the ground?
you would take it out. Actually, the blank bricks aren't the ones you engrave. They're just space holders.
Okay.
You actually order the engraved ones. What I like about that location is it's really not set up for people to walk on. I mean, unless you're walking up to touch the flagpole, there's no real reason to walk on that area. So it's really more of a memorial area where you can walk up and look at. What it will also be, those bricks will surround the memorial plaque for the Johnston family who donated the flagpole. That will be a significant plaque, right, it'll be, I don't know, a couple, 2 or 3 feet high with a plaque on there, and Miss Johnston wrote something out to her husband who fought in World War II, so those bricks will start around that particular piece.
All right. Well, I assume, I know once we start on that, we have to fill it in. So regardless of how few or how many of the signed bricks we get. So-
That, honestly, guys, that's why I liked that spot around the flagpole. There's an end to that area, so if it doesn't take off, really, I mean, we're only kind of locked into doing that one little portion, and then we can end that program if we choose to. What I sense is that it's not gonna end there. I mean, it'll take us a couple years to fill that location, but I think people will like it, and if my next idea that I'm gonna pitch to you takes off as well, there's just room to grow and continue to add this portion.
Any other questions? Oh, Michelle?
I have another one. Okay. So, talking about the disc golf, are we gonna kind of start allowing stuff like that? I mean, we're gonna be able to go further with that idea? I mean, is it something that, we'll do a baseball diamond and then we're gonna do a playground? I mean, is there a limit to it, or is it whatever's fair game?
That's why this program's in place. For those folks who want to do something, we have some guidelines, parameters in place where somebody just doesn't walk up and say, I want a baseball field, here's $20,000, can you guys meet the rest of it? Well, not really. I mean, we can talk about it, but what we'd prefer you do is go through our program so we can give you recognition for it. We know what we want. We'll allow you to help us pick a location that suits our needs, and it just kind of guides them into the process and allows us to help them donate what they want to donate, but gives us the ability to make sure we can handle it once it's in place. The memorial bricks or the memorial benches, things like that, I mean, what I like about those is that we can put them in other amenities within the park. It makes perfect sense to have some seating around the disc golf course. So I think there's a lot of room for this program to expand, and I think people will like it. Will it get used? $2,000 for a bench is a lot of money. $10,000, not a lot of people just drop $10,000, but if somebody does, we're ready for it and have a program in place, and that's what I wanted. So if there's any changes, any pricing schemes, anything like that you guys want to do, now's the time to let me know so we can tweak that before we go to city council. What we would like to do as far as the time frame on this is have the marketing and everything ready to go come January 1st so we can kick off the new year and be ready for it.
Okay, one other question. So as far as around the flagpole area, have we figured out, I mean, we know how big it is, I assume, so have we figured out how many how many bricks there are available to sell, or do we need?
I haven't actually laid them out to where we know how many. There's well over, what, 30 easy, maybe even 50, close to 50 bricks right there.
Okay.
It's a large area, and when you start putting those little bricks in there, the area looks bigger and bigger. So the way it's laid out, it's almost like instead of a square, it's almost, diamond shaped. And so we'll peek at the corner and work our way back. And that's the good part about it. We can do a couple rows at a time. We don't have to do the whole thing all at once. So we can do a couple rows at a time. If it stalls a little bit, we can plant some fountain grass or something in the back side of it to kind of fill that space up. There's a lot we can do right there.
I think, just for clarification, on some of on the ball fields and that's more of a corporate sponsorship issue, renewable. Whereas what we're talking about here is permanent. These are permanent dedications.
Yeah.
And they'll stay intact regardless of the amount of time, as long as maintained. But as for ball fields and that's, we're looking at a renewable naming rights, and that's usually corporate.
Ultimately, the idea is for people to take ownership in the park system. But by doing this, once they've done their part, then it becomes the park system. It becomes the property of City of Raymore. And it's his job to fix it, take
Right.
care of it.
Now, basically, what we need to decide here is if any changes need to be made to pricing, because this is going to be presented in joint session in October.
Yes.
So we need to be firm on what we believe is proper and adequate for it. And now, we had never had a breakdown of what a bench would actually run us. We know what tree costs are, but
No, we have a breakdown of the bench.
you have a cost breakdown for those?
The honor bricks are $80. That's, you buy it, it's engraved and installed for $80.
Okay.
Tribute trees, same thing for $300. Typically, a tree, depending on the caliber, the variety, can range anywhere from $150 to $300. We will be the ones to actually go select that to make sure that we're buying within our price range, and then that just gets folded into our fall planting season or our spring planting season. So we're already doing the work. We're not going out of our way to plant this one tree. A tree is basically, we take an order. The honor bricks is the same thing. We're not going to do it every time somebody comes it and drops $80. We're going to backfill orders and then do it at one time per year, so it's all done at one time. Same thing with trees. We plant twice a year. The memorial benches, we want powder-coated steel in a Victorian style so that they all look uniform, look elegant, unique. They can have the imprint, the engraving on the back of the bench. Those aren't cheap. We know that, but we also have experience with them, and they're built to last. So that's why they're picked that way. Bench, I believe, priced out around what, $1,600? $1,300 to $1,600, and we figure our time and concrete to put it in is $200 to $300, and it's done. And then just for your information, the heritage shelters, there's all different size shelters and things out there. What I did was I priced several smaller, unique shelters, 1 to 2 picnic table size like that. I ran around prices from $5,000 to $8,000. We rounded it up to a couple thousand so that we could hire a contractor, come in and build it, install it. And we used this template based off the upcoming shelter going in at Ward Park. A couple years, we took the pricing off that, and then we just rounded up to the next, 10,000 so that we could make sure we covered it.
Melinda?
I have lots of questions tonight, I can't help it. This is interesting to me, so that, I like it, so, okay, couldn't we even do something that's, you have the 10,000 level, you have a larger one, you could do it 20,000 and, a 50,000 or something like that, so if somebody really wanted to do, I'd give a big donation, I don't know, I'd probably rather take it somewhere else, but even doing some options there, that'd be one question. The other is there, do we have profitability in this at all? I mean, is it just, we're doing it at our own cost? Because I would think it would be something that we would want to generate some revenue off of.
Okay, well, to answer your first question, if it goes above and beyond that, then we're sitting down and we're talking with them, say, what are you looking for? What are you wanting? we need land. Are you willing to help go chip in and buy some land with us? I mean, you get somebody who's willing to donate over $10,000, they better be sitting down and you talking to them, because that's pretty serious. So I didn't want to categorize that amount of a donation and pigeonhole them into feeling like they needed to be there, because at that point I want to talk to them and see what they're thinking and what can we do to make that work. To answer your second question, is the shelters is what we would profit off of. The others are just part of the park system. They're aesthetically pleasing. They do everything that we want them to do, but the shelters we can rent. And although they are small, what we have right now is a lack of small usable shelters. We have big, large, awesome shelters that aren't cheap to rent. What we want to see is some smaller ones that folks can rent near the playground for $25 to do a birthday party and not have to rent it for $75 and be more than they need. So these are the types of shelters where we would actually market and say, yeah, you can rent these for a half a day and things like that. So that's where the revenue portion comes in on that.
Then I think that, to me, the bricks is something we could easily make a round nice number of 100, make 20% on, and,
Don't lose sight of the fact of what the bricks cost.
The what?
We're making,
Oh, they
Well-
said they cost $80.
that's for them to buy them. They don't cost me $80.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
I'm making a
Thank
good
you.
profit on the bricks.
Good.
All right, Sheldon?
Yeah, Nathan's question that I meant to ask you out of the Park Foundation aspect, proceeds that are donated, we've had some pushback from people not knowing how those funds will be commingled into city funds. Could there be a separate designated fund for something like this? We've had some hesitation of people not knowing where their money's going.
Right.
Is it highlighted for the purpose they intend?
I-
Can we
I'm-
give that assurance?
We've looked into that, and I've talked to the finance director, and essentially, because this donation is going to purchase something, that money is used specifically for the purchase of that item. So there's an expense and a revenue line item. So when they deposit it in, we would set up basically a legacy line item. It's deposited in to there as revenue, and then there's an expense item as we buy the bricks, pay for the labor, do those, it comes out of that. line
So it'd
item.
go through the park accounting?
Yes,
Okay.
it can go through the park
That
account.
would add more comfort to the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One question on the Heritage Shelter. There's a line in there that says picnic tables are available for additional fees.
Yes.
We're going to assume if they're going to spend $10,000 on a shelter, they might spend the extra, but they might just be done with the
Right.
shelter. Is that something then we would bear the cost of that? Because we're not going to leave them just to shelters. I mean,
Right.
we're going to put picnic tables in anyway,
The way I
right?
wrote it and the way I figured, if somebody's willing to give us $10,000 for a shelter, I'll buy a $500 picnic table and put in it.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, but if they're willing to spend $10,000 for a shelter, they might be willing to drop another $500 and put a nice picnic table in there
Right.
too. So I left that as an option.
And the other one says heritage shelters are not guaranteed to have water or electricity. I
Right.
assume some of that's dependent on location.
That's exactly what it is.
And the location's going to be a joint venture, I guess.
They want it in
I mean,
Timbuktu, and
yeah.
we can't talk them out of it. It's not going to have lights and it's not going to have water, but it's going to be a really nice shelter in the middle of nowhere.
But there is a possibility if it's near where we have water, we would still have to run
Yeah.
water. We'd still have to run, there
We would
could be
still
some
have to
extra
do
cost for that.
Which is
so-
why the shelter maybe costs $6,000. That gives us $4,000 to play with to tie into water and electric line.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Oh, good job, by the way. I really like this.
Any other questions? Well, apparently, it looks like we're, oh, Eric? Oh, sorry. Apparently, we're all in agreement with the proposal as it is, presentation. So, I'm assuming we can just go forward with it
Okay.
from here.
Yeah, we'll put it together and be ready for the joint work session.
All right. All right, public comments.
Nope.
Are
one
we-
more.
Oh, you got one more. I'm sorry, I wouldn't jump the gun on that one. This is on the,
Yeah, I can just flow right into that.
please.
Okay, so the Arboretum is an idea that I had actually one night when I couldn't sleep, and it just popped in my head. So I come back the next day and I put this together. One of the things at Memorial Park that, whether you love it or you hate it, is we have a trail that goes nowhere. And people love it. They love to walk it. And You can't really map it out. You can't do anything with it. But what I noticed in that particular area is that for some reason, 45 years ago, they built this trail and then this park, and we have some really beautiful mature trees, and people just like that area. And we have decorative lighting there. We have a shelter there. We have playground there. We have parking there. It's a pedestrian entrance on the south side and a vehicular and pedestrian entrance on the north side. So we have that particular piece of property there. It is on the west side of the park. It's a 10-acre little plot there. But something Ms. Hubach, Councilmember Hubach, said a couple weeks ago at a work session, it hit me, and this is where this idea came from. Between Highway 291 and Highway 58, when you drive through Raymore, there's really nothing that catches your eye to make you want to stop. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, that's not true. I mean, there's lots of stuff. Well, there's lots of restaurants and there's some shops and stuff, but there's nothing to stop just to recreate and enjoy it. And I'm like, well, what can we do? Because that's our job. That's Parks and Recreation, is to provide things for people to enjoy, entertainment, recreation. What do we have that we could market to that? And that's where this idea came up. That's what I was thinking about. We have talked about adding a loop trail, doing a lot of improvements in Memorial Park, and so this idea came out of that. Let's take this piece of property, let's call it something specifically, and generate some opportunities for folks to have a reason to go there, not just because you know that it's there or you live next to the park, but where's somewhere you can go to have a picnic, where's somewhere you can go to walk, to learn about trees, learn about flowers, do all of these things. And it's not brand new. It's already established. All we got to do is put some signs up and call it something different. And you got a marketing plan on something that we've been maintaining for years. We don't really have to do anything different. We just need to purchase a few signs and just start marketing it. It's a piece of cake, frankly. And so I started looking at other arboretums and how they got started. And most of the arboretums got started with a blank piece of property, and they planted trees, and it took years and years and years to go. We're already years and years and years into this. We're just renaming it, and now we can start adding to it. And then you tie it back into the legacy program we just talked about. Now we got a place to put memorial benches in our arboretum, places to plant trees where we can label them as far as that's the location where you would want to put a tag around a tree where you say, this is a sugar maple. We planted this in 2012. It's expected to grow 40 foot tall with a spread of 40 feet. That's where you start putting that stuff in there, so it becomes an educational component while you're there. So as far as the cost is concerned, we already maintain that area. We already mow it. We already have a trail there. We already have parking there. We already have water there. We already have lighting along the trail there. We really just need to buy some signs and put them in place and label some of the trees and start calling it what it is, which is just a really cool place to go. And with that, now we have something completely different, completely unique. We didn't put a whole lot of investment in it, but we can market it and start bringing folks in there. We can partner with the Arts Commission as being a place for rotating art structures, sculptures, things in that area. So there's a lot of opportunity to do those things. What needs to happen is the commitment of the board that once you go down this road, you're pretty much, that is what that place is going to be from here on out. It's going to be something that we maintain. Steve and I have already talked, and it'll be something that we will probably increase our maintenance as far as aesthetically pleasing, especially around the trees, making sure they stay mulched and weeded and stuff, because the whole idea is to get people to come out there to look at them. We hope that the school district would use that to come out and do educational things. You have the shelter right there for family reunions and birthday parties. It's got a playground right there. Now you've just got a whole walking trail system there. Some of the improvements that we got coming up in Memorial Park is a loop trail around the whole park, plus new playground area over there. So we're already invested money in there. So it's going to make it even more attractive to go to that side of Memorial Park. So the cost really doesn't have a whole lot there, most of that, guys, right now, we could probably fund right now if we wanted to. But that's really what the idea behind that is taking something we've already got, naming it something different, marketing it a little bit different, with very little effort, and we've got something that we can advertise to folks. Hey, come to Raymore, check out our arboretum, come walk the trails, and that's where it come from. That was the idea. So I wanted to bring that to you guys and see what you thought too.
Any questions? Melinda?
You know I do. Okay, two things. What kind of trees are currently there? And didn't we talk about redoing that trail system inside the park altogether? And is that gonna mess things up, or have we already planned for that?
Okay.
Or am I crazy and just made
Nope.
that up?
First
Okay.
question, there's all kinds of tree there. There's bald cypress, oaks, maples, ash trees, willow trees. We've got a pretty good variety already there. So what we can do is make a list. Steve and I will make a list of what we want to do, make sure we're hitting all the Missouri natives. So as we have tribute trees coming in, we can, pinpoint some of these folks and say, hey, this would be a really neat feature in the Arboretum. Would you be interested in doing that? But we also can start planting them in our spring and fall. Our Arbor Day event every spring, we can add to it. So that's what's really cool about it is, I know Belton they built an Arboretum out there, and they're all brand new trees. Now, there's a lot of variety, and it's big and spread out, but it's brand new. It is what it is. We're just putting signs up saying what they already are. Most people call and ask us anyway, hey, that tree by the bench at Memorial Park, what is that? Well, now we're gonna put a sign in there and call it what it is. As far as your second question, yes, originally the plan was to pull that whole little trail system out and just do one big loop around the trail. So what I asked Steve is, well, instead of taking that out, why don't we just crack seal it, overlay it, refreshen it up, and still add the big loop trail and make something out of it? Because I can tell you right now, we have enough people who walk that. We're going to get some pushback when we want to tear that out. This is avoiding that and making use of it.
Well, I think it does a nice job of winding through the
Mhm.
trees. Some of it is
And there
illogical.
are some spins and some takes on there that we'll probably have to cut out and backfill and make it kind of make sense with the new loop trail. And
Good.
Steve and I have already walked that and looked at some mapping of that and also some addition. We want to add a little bit further south because there's a lot of area further south that's just green space that we can, add portions of that trail in. So hopefully that answered your question.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Great
Jay?
idea, by the way.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jay.
My house backs up to Lucy Webb, and this is my view from my house. So I'm very pleased to see you found a way to keep the loop trail. And I think this is a phenomenal idea. I'm also happy to hear that you're gonna fill in that northwestern end, maybe, or southwestern end with some more trees.
Mhm.
I am pointing in the wrong direction, aren't I?
That's okay.
But anyhow, I just think this is a phenomenal idea, and adding maybe a path and a shelter at that southwestern end is a good idea and an opportunity, and I like seeing that you're taking advantage of it, and just some signage and remarketing it. Good job.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, it looks like that's gonna be highly acceptable. In fact, it's a good idea, and it's, an arboretum is something that we, as you said, we already have established trees there. It's a good start, and I think it's a good idea. All right. Moving on, public comments. We did have someone here, but apparently they've left. So I'll now move on to Brian. You have a
I'll
question?
bring something up because I'm pretty sure I know what she was here for. Even though I'm not public, I'm pretty sure. There was on the Facebook page on a rants and raves, there was an issue last night. A few people have, I don't know if you had a chance to see this, came out pretty late this afternoon. Apparently Memorial Park was pretty busy last night. So there was a parking issue, and that's what she was here for, because she mentioned she was pregnant, and I noticed somebody was pregnant. So There was a parking issue, I guess. They were lined up on both sides of the entrance to Memorial Park. I know some of this wasn't true because we don't play soccer games up there, but there was, soccer practice was going on. I know T-ball was going on. The school had a tennis match going on, so it was pretty busy. I don't think it's anything we can really do anything about. We already know 2 weeks of every fall, it just gets extremely busy out there. However, if we know that's coming up, maybe we could send an email to the T-ball baseball coaches. Oh, we did? Okay. You can just tell me we did.
We did. I talked to her today.
Yeah.
So I had talked to Director Mustine, and I think he passed on to Chairman Manson that I did have a nice chat with her. She, from what I gather, if this was the person that was coming up, her question, I think, was more of she's in support of what we're doing, very supportive of it. She just wanted to express her feelings on how we're confined to that one park, because it was Recreation Park. So
Wait, it was Recreation or Memorial?
It was Recreation Park, because Memorial's got all the carnival stuff set up. So she was at Recreation Park.
It said Raymore Memorial Park. And
Yes, it was
to
Recreation
be honest, I
Park.
got in an argument with my wife about it.
It was
But it said,
Recreation.
but I reread the post and it did say Memorial Park, so I told her my bad. Now it's your bad.
I was out there last night. I was at the office, and I was on the phone with the staff. Like I said, I did discuss it with her. We did make some scheduling changes this year to try to adjust it. Jerry did put out a Facebook post a couple weeks ago saying, heads up, parking's going to be an issue as we get into these games scenarios, because we got football, baseball, and softball going on during the week, and then on the weekend we got soccer, and then soccer practices. That's why Steve has worked so hard on trying to prepare Hawk Ridge, and that's why we've got goals out there, and the porta pots, we're trying to get people to move out to that direction so that we eliminate as much as possible. The main issue last night, as I discussed with staff and discussed with the lady that called me today, the bus was parked in a spot that they should not have been parked in. It was a away school, very large bus for the tennis team, and they couldn't get turned around. So then the parents that were following the bus home all backed out of their parking spots, got behind the bus, and then the bus got locked in. We called PD out. PD did come out to assist us. I did give Chief Zimmerman a heads up going into this season. She said she was appreciative of that and would fully support us in any kind of help. She's been out, or she sent officers out patrolmen out to help us with that scenario, and last night was one of those that it just was a big
It
traffic
just
jam.
is.
It
And we
just-
know, it seems like it happens every year in the fall.
Right.
When all these things all collide at once, before tennis is out, especially on tennis nights,
Right.
it just
It's
gets
these 2
overloaded.
weeks,
but-
and you are correct, yes.
There was also a truck with a trailer spanning across like 8 spots as well, and my wife had to pick up my son from there. So, and I was there tonight before I came to this meeting. It was a quarter full.
Yeah, just one of those nights, I guess.
It was.
On a situation like that, basically, I would probably assume that it's kind of hard to anticipate any one particular night being overwhelming or not. But if we had staff, probably the only thing we could have done, and I'm assuming this would have been a staff issue, trying to direct parking and trying to find a solution so that bus wouldn't have been blocked in. Or, now that would fall to.
That's
Mr.
your fault to the
Moore,
school
Michael,
district. That's your fault to the coach.
It also
Would be my
falls,
guess,
it
but-
also falls to the fact that no matter how well you plan something, there's always going to be the exception. And as long as it's not the rule where we have this consistently, and it's just one of those exceptional nights, we just have to roll with that a little bit. We try to prevent that, and we'll try to keep working to prevent it, but it's just gonna happen. I mean, that's just the way things have. And whether you got law enforcement there to help, give some, a little more emphasis to where they need to be parking at and not have any arguments, that's fine. In fact, that's probably the best solution, since that takes some of the, shall we say, some of the heat off the staff, because last thing we want to do is, even though you're trying to do the best thing for everybody, sometimes the people don't see it that way.
Well, I think the other concern, one of the main concerns was if there was an injury, how would PD and emergency personnel get back to the far back lot because of all of this? And that was one of her concerns. And,
Correct.
you know, I discussed that, you know, staff was working as diligently as possible, and that we are looking at options, you know, with our overflow parking, if there's something we can do there. We're looking at options as well, but I think that was just her site, as in, you know, where we're at with, if we're adding more parking, if we're adding more complex, you know, or different location, things of that nature. So,
Jenny?
Not being fully aware of everything you have to do to try and coordinate all that, since you are able to assign a field, and is there not in the parking area, like, for instance, this away team bus that was there, they're away, and they're going to be on, I'm making up numbers here, they're going to be on field 32, okay? That there is an away team parking bus space for away team 32, if they're going to be assigned to, if teams A and B are going to be assigned to field 32, the away team has a parking spot that's reserved for that away team bus or something.
the bus was a school district bus for the tennis courts, so it wasn't part of the recreation programs or anything we put on.
Oh, they were just coming.
They had a meet at our tennis
So
courts.
this was a fairly unique situation.
Yes, the bus parked in normal parking spots and couldn't get turned around to get out once their match, of course, started at 3:30. All of our games started at 6. And so it was when they were ending and we were starting up.
Okay, well, it's nice to hear that somebody from away came and used our tennis courts.
Maybe one possibility, we just look at a possible solution of having a location just for buses. Now, it doesn't have to be in general parking, it could possibly be up closer to the park house if it's needed. And that's where they can drop off their team, but they need to park the bus in another place. So it doesn't interfere with the regular parking spots and takes up too many. Plus, it's probably more adequate for their ability to, for their need to be able to turn around.
Right.
Is that?
Yeah, we can look at those options, and I have a yearly meeting with the school district, and we bring up any issues that we've seen over the year, and that goes both ways. You know, we use their gyms, you know. We always talk about the elementary field, T-ball fields, the field 3 and field 4, Timber Creek field, any of those practice fields we use, any of the school district gyms, they bring things to us. You know, when we were talking about the tennis court reconstruction or overlay and the windscreen conversation, that was something that, you know, the school district took all the windscreens off of their varsity fields because it enabled visibility, so they were supportive of it. Those are the things we discuss, and so anything to this nature, especially like this event that happened or occurred last night, it will be on my list of things to discuss. So if we come up with that option or possibility, I can bring it to the table. And
Well, it's also something that could be discussed in committee with the Recreation Committee, right?
right.
I'll give the chairperson of the Recreation Committee something. All right, any other questions? All right, so much for, thank you on the public comments. Appreciate the info, Brian, that was helpful. And it's something that I'm sure people would like to know that we're attentive to. Now, board member comments. Do we have any? Of course, Brian.
I did not get a chance to see the meeting last night, but I do see item C was the naming of the farmer's market area. Can I ask what names were submitted that the park board submitted for city council consideration? I don't see it in the report. Was it more than one?
Sorry. the numbers, the names that,
Okay, I just gotta say, I'm still deeply disappointed that we submitted 5 names, because the majority of the park board did not vote on 5 names. I gotta stop.
I recall it the same way. I didn't remember there being people's names. I thought we had it right.
Hannah was one of them. I don't know if Hannah Station was one of them.
no, they changed it.
I think it was what, Hannah Depot was one.
It's Hannah
submit-
Square, I believe,
Or Hannah
was one
Square.
that was submitted.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I mean, nothing's been decided, right?
No, it did.
I didn't think, well, I apparently missed that. I was sleeping during that part apparently.
It wasn't
but
decided,
It's
it'll come
not
up for
decided.
resolution next week.
It's coming up for resolution, yeah.
That's interesting.
We took the notes from the work session with the names, and then we voted for them, and we had the number of the votes in parentheses, and we gave them in the order that they were done. Submitted that to Mr. Fearborn, and it's the last I saw it until last night.
And the selection was one that was not any of the ones we, yeah, not, pardon me?
Based on our recommendation.
Right. Anyone else? All right. On that case, I'm gonna call for adjournment. Do we have a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carries. We're adjourned.